This podcast is for a mature audience and may be viewed as inappropriate or insensitive to some. Listener discretion is advised. The intention is to share conversation of like and unlike-minded individuals as they try to be the best them they can be in a life full of challenges, searching for love, acceptance, and positivity. Call 669-241-1422 and share yourself or catch up with Sweet Baby J for an anonymous face-to-face interview. Feel free to call in with questions, stories, thoughts, or anything you would love to talk about and share. Nothing is off the table when talking sweet with Sweet Baby J at 669-241-1422.
Ladies and gents and ladies, you are here once again talking sweet with Sweet Baby J. It's always a beautiful day to be you, as long as you live like it. I have a very beautiful young lady right here that is into something interesting, something that a lot of people entertain, some don't. You care to share?
Well, hi, Jay. Thanks for having me on. Hi. I'm Rebecca, or actually I'll give you the whole name. I'm Rebecca Beneteau, and I'm a sex and intimacy and kink coach.
Nice.
And healer.
And healer, yeah. Wow, that's a lot to swallow all in one bite, but it sounds like it's the right thing you would want to swallow.
True, yeah. It definitely makes for a very full business card.
So what is it that you actually do, or what is it that you promote for your business?
Well, I mean, what I do is I help people get a better connection to their body, their sexual turn-on, and the people they share those things with. I do it because it was kind of my own personal journey, and I want to take people through to the place that they want to be as sexually self-expressed humans.
So there was a time where you were not evolved to where you are. What got you to where you are now?
Yeah, there was for sure a time. I started out in my teenage years. I had a trauma happen to me. Something happened to me as a child. And what I took from that was that my body didn't really belong to me, that sex was something you did to please your partner or make other people happy. It was something you did to get love. So I was very sexually active as a teenager, but I wasn't necessarily feeling fulfilled by it or enjoying it. And there came a time when in my marriage where I just found myself laying there going, are you done yet? And I was like, oh no, I'm not going to live the next 50 years of my life feeling like this. And I got outside help, found people that were teaching what I wanted to learn about how to have more fun in bed. I really dove into it like I do with anything. I just want to say, I think a lot of people think that relationships and sex are something we're just supposed to naturally know how to be good at, right? You wouldn't expect to be a good tennis player unless you learned technique. You wouldn't expect to be a good musician unless you took guitar lessons. But this other thing, we just think, oh yeah, I should be able to figure that out. And if we don't want to tell anybody that we don't know.
Very true.
I was willing.
So you provide a space in which people that want to seek that help into learning more on how to be pleased and also pleased. You provide a space for that.
Yes, absolutely. There's nothing that freaks me out when people tell me. The number one question I get, Jay, a lot is it normal that I like fill in the blank? And I like to tell them normal is just a setting on the washer.
True.
There is no not normal. And the question is just giving ourselves permission about that and then figuring out where do I find the people who like what I like? True. Or how do I introduce to my partner what I think I might like and to get them to come and play with me. And there's nothing anybody can say to me where I'll get freaked out or disgusted. I'm just like, hey, cool. All right. How can we get there for you?
Are you
so
still?
That's kind of my superpower. My superpower is non-judgment in the arena.
I'm right there with you. I am non-judgment, but I may have met my counterpart here.
Mm-hmm.
So are you still married?
That's awesome. That's such a service you're providing.
Yeah. Are you still married?
I'm not married, no.
How was that transition? Or did you come about this transition while being married or after?
Well, yeah. So it started in my first marriage with the father of my children, where I started doing this research. We started to grow apart, decided that our relationship would best be served as co-parents and not as a married couple. So we split up. And then I just have continued my journey. I did get married again, and we were married for 10 years. And that was really great. And I learned a lot. Again, the relationship just started deteriorating. And so we transitioned out of that. And for a while we were really I didn't want anything to do with him. He didn't want anything to do with me. But now we're really close friends, and that's a real gift. Now I would say that my primary partner is myself with guest stars.
I personally think that should always be the case.
Yeah, right on. I think so too. Those years of me trying to get validated by whether another person liked me or was turned on by me are done. Someone coming into my life now, you've got to seriously add some goodies.
I feel you.
Otherwise, I don't have time for it.
I was watching a video of a young lady that was really adamant saying that men, and I guess also women, sometimes judge her. Well, she said often judge her for how many men she slept with or what she does when she sleeps with a man. That stop judging. Whatever I'm bringing to you, appreciate it because you're the chosen one for right now. And beyond that, if you want to know if I'm doing something nasty, she was like, yes, I do it all. If anything you want to know if I do it all. Here is what the energy that I have and I'm bringing to you, please deliver the same. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about women being judged for how many men that they have slept with?
Well, I mean, I think all judgment is a barrier to intimacy and a way of trying to control.
I'm going to say also, I'm sorry, but judgment is also a barrier to happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. The judgments we have of ourselves, the judgments we make about other people. So if somebody says to me, you have too much sex, what they're really saying is, the amount of sex you've had makes me feel inadequate.
Wow.
Or, yeah, I can't they have their own judgments of themselves. They can't keep up with me. They're not experienced enough for me, to be with me. Like, it's really about that. And it can be a challenge, but when you get to that point where you don't care that other people are judging you, you're like, cool.
There you go.
Thanks.
Like it or love it. Hate it or leave it.
Take it somewhere else, but go take it somewhere else too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't hang around people that judge me heavily if I can help it.
And then you said you had kids. How old are your kids?
My kids are grown. My kids are 21 and 26.
Do they know what you do?
They do.
How do they entertain that? Or have they ever brought that to you that they wanted to learn or engage in some of the things that you teach?
Yeah, they don't come to my workshops necessarily. They might come to a meet and greet or a movie night or something like that. And I think when they were teenagers, they might have been embarrassed by what I do. But now that they're older, they appreciate that I've given them the power to be sexual themselves. They'll call me up. They'll call me up with questions about what kind of lube is good with this kind of vibrator. How do you handle when someone's got a really big cock? What do I do with that? Like, they'll ask me straight up questions because they know I'm not judging them. They don't judge me for what I do. My mother, on the other hand, she's not so keen on it. But,
can you really expect
my
mothers
sister, to? No, you really can't. My sister, too, is probably a little embarrassed by what I do, but I think it's important, and I do think I've reached a stage in my life where I'm not trying to fit in. I'm trying to live my life full out and inspire other people to do the same, just like you are, which I love.
You said the word cock, which very interesting to me. Not a word that I ever use, but one thing I can say is when I hear the word penis, I'm like, what are you dealing with? Like, how do you use you? It's dick. I can accept cock, but penis is like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
it is.
I think the way that you word things, the way that you speak when it comes to intimacy can stimulate someone else. And I just don't see the word penis as stimulating. It's so medical.
Yeah, I do know a lot of men. The word penis is kind of technical. The word dick is kind of diminutive. I was originally trained by kind of old hippies, and they really like the words cock and pussy. And I do too. I mean, if you want to get into the realm of sort of spiritual sex, there's the Hindu words yoni for the lady parts and lingam for the man part.
Oh.
Those are kind of nice. They're a little more socially acceptable.
Lingam?
And they're also kind of cool. Lingam means sword, and yoni means she. So
it's
that's kind
totally
of an interesting way.
It's totally okay to say to someone, I want you to practice magic and swallow my whole lingam. Oh, thank you. I will put
Why
that in my
not?
bag. So you practice femdom. Care to share exactly what that is?
What that means is that I get my turn on from being in control and having the power in sex play and outside sex too. I'm just sort of a more dominant. I'm a business owner and an entrepreneur, so I'm pretty driven and ambitious. But femdom is a way of playing in the realm of BDSM or kink that got kind of famous in 50 Shades of Grey, if people have heard that book.
Yes, I know of it. And also the show Billions. It starts off with kink in which wife was beating the husband, who's this powerful attorney, but she actually also urinated on him. That part a little blew my mind, but hey, whatever you're into, you're into. But the husband.
Yeah, I mean, it's very common that people who have a submissive streak, submissive obviously is the opposite of dominant, are usually like CEOs, firefighters, soldiers. They like a place where they can lay down the control and also feel like the object of other people's attention. I mean, I know some guys that want to be made to cry because they don't have a space for that in their life anywhere else. So
how do you make them cry?
A place where they can do it. What makes them cry? I hit them really, really hard.
Any particular spot, or is each person's tender spot different, or are you just wailing away and kicking people in the balls?
No, the most important thing in the realm of kink is consent and negotiation. So before I would go anywhere near that kind of play with someone, we would have a long talk about what they want to experience, what areas of their body are okay to touch, what areas maybe aren't. Like for somebody that maybe got hit with a belt when they were a kid, they might want to be in a DS scene, but they might not want to get spanked on the ass. So we talk about all of those things. We talk about the different kinds of sensations they could experience. I have different things that I hit people with, including my hand, a book, cat and nine tail, a cane, and they all produce different feelings and different sensations in the person. And I check in. There are ways we have. I might ask a person that I'm playing with for the first time, what's your color? That's using the traffic light system. If they're having a good time, everything feels good, they'll tell me green. If it's a little painful, approaching a threshold, they want me to slow down, they'll say yellow. And if it's really, they've had enough, they'll say red, and I'll stop doing that activity. We also have something called the safe word. It's not something you might usually say, not like stop or no, but
caterpillar.
Alligator. Caterpillar. If they say caterpillar, that means scene is over, stop, no question. Yeah, that way, part of the fun for a person in a DS scene is sometimes going, no, stop, you can't do this, and me going, yes, I can, because you fucking belong to me. Get on your knees and kiss my feet right now.
Wow. Oh, shit. Okay. My ears just...
Well, and you can hear me laughing and smiling, like how much that, and nobody knows, nobody knows why we're too excited.
No such thing as too excited. You've faced judgment from some, but yet you carry on with yours. And you enjoy doing this with your clients. Is it a very lucrative business?
Yeah, okay, that reminds me where we were. I was talking about the fact that nobody knows why we're turned on by what we're turned on by, but even talking to you about it and kind of demonstrating made me smile, made me laugh, made my body wake up.
I felt the energy.
Yeah, so it's something that I do in my personal life, but I don't have to have it in my personal life. That's a distinction. Some people, they can only get turned on if they have kinky play. For me, it's kind of the seasoning, not the steak. Now, so in my practice, I have workshops and things that help people access this. Like right now, I'm teaching a class called Femdom, which is for women that want to explore how dominant they might be, what that might look like, because there's different ways to express it. You don't have to like hitting people. You could just like being a goddess and having somebody wait on you and squire you around. When I work with clients, sometimes what they want is to work out the mental shame issue and also to have an experience in a safe way, like research. Like they think they might like to be submissive, but they're not sure. So I can provide an experience for them to learn how they like that and how they can find a partner or how they can bring it. One of my best case studies was a guy who came to me for a while, and one day he finally said, can I have my collar back because my wife is going to be my dominant. He found out what he liked and he was able to communicate it to her, and they found a way to work it into their relationship.
As an individual, we can have these things that we would like to explore, experience. But how do you actually bring that to someone else that may have not been on that same journey or may not have these same desires as you? How do you find yourself able to, or how would you encourage someone to bring their life or supposed lifelong partner into this lifestyle so that they can both enjoy it? And how do you maneuver when you approach your partner with this and they are not interested, but yet this is something that really means a lot to you? What do you recommend?
Yeah, thanks. That's such a great question. And I can get a little personal here as well as the coach talking.
As personal as you want. We like it personal here.
Yeah, I know you do. Well, the idea is to bring it to somebody maybe without so much expectation, but can I share something with you? That's the first place, right? Can I share something with you? I noticed that I'm having some fantasies about this. What do you think of that? And you can introduce it in the form of just a conversation, or maybe show them a video or a movie, or read them something that you wrote and said, I just want to share this part of me with you. The reason that I find a lot of partners reject what their partner wants that's alien or different, they do it because they feel threatened and worried. Something's going to be expected of me that I'm not going to want to do. So if you want to share something and you say, I just want you to know about this fantasy I'm having, and it could be something that they don't want to participate in, you could ask them, are you willing to just have it be in the realm of fantasy? Like when you and me are making love, can you tell me a story about how we have multiple partners in the bed? Can we pretend that? Because the fantasy can be as potent and maybe more so than actually doing it. Because maybe you have this great fantasy of having threesomes, but then in actuality, the jealousy would break you apart.
Yeah.
So maybe it's okay to just have it be a story you tell each other. Or when you go out to a party, you'd be like, would you like to bring that one home? Would you like to bring that one home? And then when you get home, just the two of you, you're like, okay, we've got her here. What are we going to do now? And the same thing. Right? It becomes a story to liven things up, and the same thing with sex. It's like, okay.
Well, I actually interviewed a couple in the past that are into what is described as the lifestyle. The swingers apparently is an old terminology, but it's described as the lifestyle. And one thing in talking with them, an issue that they seem not to have is jealousy and cheating, because they do it all in front of their spouse. Or they started out with a whole lot of rules, the same way that you said, but as they've progressed, those rules have changed. Whereas they used to do it only in the same room, now they are able to do it in separate rooms. But I asked the husband, I said, so when your wife is with another man, and let's say performing oral on that man, and you're right there, and your wife just leans over to kiss you, do you kiss her? And he said, yeah, I don't think about that. I was like, what? Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely something that works. That's one way to express what they call ethical non-monogamy, when things are like above board and shared with everybody. Okay, I promised I was going to get personal. So you have to find what works for you and your partner, right? So I was in my second marriage, and my partner was really into tying women up. That was like his favorite thing to do in the world. And I didn't really like being tied up, but I knew it was important to him. So one of the ways that we worked around it was we started with just an experiment. Like, okay, I'm going to let you tie me up for 15 minutes. And then after we'd done that, we would talk about what parts of it worked, what parts of it didn't, that I liked certain positions better than others. In that way, like, I knew it wasn't going to last forever with something that I didn't really like.
So this tying up, so
that's one way to do it.
Were you guys being intimate, like having intercourse while, let's say having sex while being tied up, or he was just tying you up? Because I know there's some people that really like just the knots. They get something out of making the knots or the rope. So is it a matter of making the knots and the rope, or you guys were actually intimate while being tied up?
Yeah, I mean, for us, for me, any reason to do BDSM is for the sexual turn on. There are some people who are like what I'm going to call craftsmen, and they like the knot people. They love making a work of art out of the knots, and they love all the zen of tying a person up. If I tie you up, it's so you can't get away, so I can do things to you.
Love it.
Yeah. So he would like to tie me up and then take me to an orgasm.
Okay.
Basically. And it would go the other way. I would sometimes tie him up, and then maybe I would hump him, or I would do things to him, or I would not let him come. Like, there's lots of ways to play with that. But in the end, it was something that I was doing more for him, and I wasn't getting that much pleasure out of it. And ultimately, that was probably what broke us up, was that we weren't on the same road sexually. We didn't.
So you're saying that...
And that doesn't have to be the end of all couples. But for us, it was a contributor to the other things we had going on.
Did you feel that it was something that you were entertaining but not fulfilled, so therefore you didn't get that satisfaction? But was he doing those things for you that satisfied you, but yet if he wasn't that much into it, was it a give and take situation?
I think our libidos were just in very different places. And there were definitely times that he tried to do things that I wanted to do. And the truth is, I don't believe in compromise. I know that that's a word where they're like, you got to give it and give your partner what they want, and they'll give you what they want. But what that really means is that both people are doing something and just losing a little bit. If you keep hunting, you could actually find a win-win where everybody gets everything they want. And that might mean in some situations, that's the beauty of non-monogamy. It's like if if I really like something that my partner doesn't like to do and he's open to it, I can have another partner that likes to do that thing with me. At one point, I was really involved with someone who was also dominant like me, and he had other partners that were submissive to him, and I had other partners that were submissive to me, and sometimes we would both be dominant together on the same person. So that was a way of finding a win-win, where neither of us had to give up that part of ourselves. Neither of us had to, like, he didn't like being submissive to me, and I didn't like being submissive to him, so we didn't have to play at something that didn't fully pleasure us. We got on the same side, and we brainstormed solutions that would work for both of us.
Very interesting. I can see where all this confusion can take place and how things can get complicated. If you have a male that likes to be submissive and a female that likes to be submissive, or a male that likes to be dominant and a female that likes to be dominant, you always have somebody trying to take control, which I think would be easier to deal with. But if you have two people that want to be submissive, how do you start this car?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, sometimes you bring somebody in, like me or somebody else. You bring someone in who's going to dominate either both of you together, or you each get your own dominant person who, in addition to your relationship,
so you're saying
you try on different things.
So you're saying that you could actually have somebody that not get involved in the intimacy portion of your relationship, that key to start the car. You can have that person that is dominant for two submissive people, let's say, that can dominate both of you and direct, you better take this, you better take that, do this, do that. And that would be the fire that makes the marshmallows, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a third category, which is wit. Some people are able to go from one to the other, and they like them both.
I could see that. I could definitely see that.
Yeah. So sometimes you're right. Having that outside person be the key that starts the car can be helpful.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And you can have that person be there and not infringe on the intimacy between the two of you.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was just having this idea, and I've never tried it before, but what if you are both submissive and you invent a dom? You begin to write down things I wish my dominant would tell me. And then you could go to your partner and say, I've just been told that I have to do this. So sit in the chair and let me blow you. Okay. Or whatever. Or maybe you create a bunch of things and you put them in, you write them down on little slips of paper and you put them in a jar. And sometimes for playtime, to spice things up, you go in the jar and you have to do whatever you pulled out of the jar.
Interesting. All interesting. What about, I know there are things like people that like to have hot wax poured on them and things like that. But suppose your partner is just not wanting to entertain this. How do you move forward? And let's say everything else in the relationship is great. You guys have great conversation, great everything. But there are these little things that you would actually have seen in a movie and it did something for you and you want to try it. But your partner's like, better get out of here with that, or no, I'm not, that's not me, or I'm not like that. Like, how do you recommend something moving forward with that type of situation?
Well, I think you start with saying to your partner, can you see any scenario where you could help me get this need met? Like, treat your partner as if they are your teammate and you're on the same side to make this happen.
A business partner.
It is. I mean, a little bit. It's your business partner, but it's your love partner. They want you to be happy ultimately. And a lot of the fights in couples happen when people think that their needs are too different and they start fighting over how that need's going to be met. Like, I had a submissive woman that I used to play with, and her boyfriend would come with her, and I would tie her to my cross, and I would do things to her and pull her hair and hit her and bite her, and she would get that experience because he didn't want to hit her. He didn't want to make her cry. That was just like not a thing he wanted to do, but she really felt a need. And here's the thing about, if you're not a person who likes getting hit, you might not understand this, but for people that do, it can almost feel like a massage. It can be very calming for people that are high anxiety, and also it takes you, like, imagine, why do marathon runners run? Because you hit that wall where your body just takes you into this altered state, right? Your pheromones just get released and you just get this flood of serotonin in your brain. That's what happens to somebody who enjoys being hit. And a lot of times the partner can't understand that and doesn't like to give pain to a person they love. So you have someone else, give them that experience. They experience that relief. And then a very important part of playing in the BDSM world is what we call aftercare, because afterwards you could be very vulnerable. You could be almost altered. It's been like you've been meditating for a half an hour. And then now the partner is the one that comes in and takes them down and wraps them in a blanket and holds them in their lap and gives them water and tells them how beautiful they are and how wonderful it was that they allowed themselves to have that experience and how much they love them. And so it doesn't have to disconnect a couple. It could bring them closer together.
That sounds incredibly intimate, I must say. Incredibly intimate.
Mm-hmm.
So, and as you were saying that, I actually thought about something. If you're engaging in this with someone, I guess there's a safe word. I guess I answered my own question. That point in which you might be getting too rough and you don't want to give black eyes and send somebody to work with a broken rib or something like that.
Right. So it's really important that the person who's the bottom is willing to have boundaries. And ultimately in BDSM, the person on the bottom is the one with the power, not the person on top. The person who is submissive has the power of the no, and they have to be willing to use it. And I encourage people that play with me to use that because the number one rule is to protect the mistress's property up to and including from the mistress herself. I tell them, look, I cannot break my toy and play with it again. So I am relying on you to tell me where my limits are. Like there are things I can do as a dominant. I always touch a person before I hit them, for example, so they know what their skin feels like. I know what their skin looks like. I don't like to play in a dark nightclub where I can't see that I'm giving you bruises. I will put my hand on you periodically. If the skin is starting to get really hot, that means it's getting inflamed. It means I've brought a lot of blood to the area. I'm watching for overdoing it, and I need you to watch for when I'm overdoing it. And I'll ask you, what's your color? And if you tell me yellow, I'm going to move to a different part of your body. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to not hit as hard. I'm going to maybe engage in more verbal domination than physical domination, like all of those things. And bruising, even up to a black eye, is sometimes something a submissive wants. So you totally have to have negotiated that first. I'll ask the person, do you want bruises? And they'll often say yes, but not where anyone can see. So you can't go to work with a black eye, but you can go to work with a sore ass. And sometimes and they'll like it because when they sit on it, it reminds them of the intimacy that we shared. For people that are freaked out by this a little or think it's all about pain, I just explained how it is. It's actually really intimate. I have to have a lot of attention on you, see what you want, and I'm only ever going to take a submissive person to a place they want to already go themselves, but they need some help getting there, and they need to feel safe and love going there.
I must say, this is all incredibly interesting. So you were married.
So, Jay, which end of the...
Which end am I
on? I was
on?
going to ask you a personal question.
Oh, go ahead. Hit me.
I wanted to ask you which side of the Wyverns you on to play on.
You know,
you were going to experiment.
If I were going to experiment, this is hypothetically speaking, I could only imagine that I would be, what did you say, a switch?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think for me personally, I cannot see being dominant all the time. I think there's fun in being dominant as well. I think there's much fun in being dominated.
Absolutely.
As much as I would, I'm just a take control kind of guy, to have your significant other take control of you and show you who's boss and show you what, listen, I want you and I want this and you're going to give it to me. I think there's a lot to say about that.
Oh, yeah. And I won't say that I never switch. It's just I'm probably like 80-20 or 70-30, and it takes a certain kind of person to bring that out of me. And there are other ways in which I'm sort of submissive. Like I like in my ordinary life, I really like to cook and feed people. That's like a thing. So I cut you off. What were you going to ask
Well,
me?
I was going to ask you were married twice to men, but you said that you play with females. Do you find yourself sometimes, are you attracted to females? And the people that you actually have play with, do you ever have physical relationships with them? Or is that something that can happen? How does this all work?
Yeah. Well, I probably have been what they used to call bisexual. Now I call it pansexual, which means I'm open to bodies. I'm all for people. I'm sexually turned on by people, and their plumbing doesn't matter.
Their plumbing.
But I will say that I'm primarily hetero-romantic. Like my long-term relationship has been primarily with men, but I am sexually attracted to women. I have had relations with women, and I've had some relationships that have lasted a few months at a time. So there's different ways to do kink, and that you could just have someone who's a playmate, and you could have someone that this is a part of your relationship, and it's just a facet of the relationship, long-term relationship that you're having.
Do you find that there's a difference in relationship between men, you being a female with a man, and you also in a relationship with a female? What are the differences, physical and emotional, that you have dealt with?
Such an interesting question. I think that, well, certainly making love with men and women is very different. Aside from the fact that the bodies are different, there tends to be, if there's not a lot of testosterone in the bed, there's going to be a difference to the quality. There's not as much of an urgency or drive necessarily, but that's like kind of a broad stereotype, and some women that are committed lesbians might differ on that. I find that when I'm with someone of the same sex, so one of us will occupy a more masculine pole and one will occupy a more feminine.
With that, I can only imagine, because I can't say I've been there, are there toys that are being used, strap-ons and stuff like that? Do you engage in that type of stuff? And if so, what do you get out of it? I've always wondered, the person wearing it, I've seen videos and they're there, and I'm like, are you really feeling anything? Why are you like, ooh, yeah? But it's a toy.
Yeah, but okay. So this is a great topic. I do have a strap on. I have used it on both women and men.
Oh, now we went to the next charts. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, we're going deep, Jay. I told you there were no hold barred on this interview.
Literally going deep, because those things get massive.
So I will tell you what I have learned from being a person that wears a strap on. First of all, there is something empowering about being the person penetrating rather than being the person penetrated. It's a very different headspace, and that's why I do advocate it for men and women to play in that realm, because it's a very different play for men, and it can be very stimulating for men because, as you know, the prostate is inside of a man and it's kind of the equivalent of a woman's clit or G-spot. So there's a lot of sensation and pleasure, orgasmic pleasure for a man in there. I did learn, I got a lot more respect for what guys have to go through when we're having sex when I started wearing a strap on.
You was working on your abs?
It's not easy. Oh my God, it's a lot of work. You got to keep your balance, you got to keep your rhythm, you got to watch the angles, you got to make sure you don't fall out. I mean, there's a lot going on.
Yes, there is.
Yeah. So part of the turn on is emotional, inhabiting that phase. The same that you feel when you're fucking a woman, like, and watching the response you're getting from her. We can have that pleasure from watching the response, but it's also, if it's situated properly, it is stimulating me externally. Or if it's a double-headed one, internally. So now there's double bang for your buck. So I am getting sensation out of it.
I asked this question to females before that engage in those activities, and they said that it does add for clitoral stimulation.
Yeah.
News to me. Thanks for confirmation. You did say that you engage in this with men. Now, are these men gay men, or are these men that I guess would, because it's all titles, you know, gay, hetero, are these men that would say that they're not gay or they're not homosexual, but yet will allow for this because of the pleasure that it provides?
Exactly. Let's get this really straight. Everybody out there is nothing gay about wanting to stick something in iron.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's new.
It has nothing to do with...
Breaking news.
Yeah. And I also know that a lot of men are actually really obsessed with looking at other men's cocks on porn. The size of it, comparing themselves, they like looking at them. Like, guys like cocks. It doesn't mean that you're gay. It doesn't mean that you want to have a relationship with another man. And even if you did, what would be so bad about that? Something to look at and confront within yourself. That's sort of like, homophobia is kind of like hating yourself.
Well, I agree.
If you can't see why someone would be attracted to a man, then why should any woman be attracted to you? Like, you're kind of saying men aren't attractive.
Wow.
Or you're saying anyone attracted to a man is less than, which is also kind of putting women in that category, right? So the big reason that guys are afraid of being gay is that they don't want to be compared to women, because they basically deep down think women are less.
Wow.
And you could get over it.
Said a lot there.
Yeah. But yeah, so putting things in your butt is really just about the pleasure and sensation that's available. Even if you don't stick anything in there are a lot of nerve endings in the outside. So it can be a pleasurable place to just massage.
Lingual stimulation rectally is something that a lot of people... And growing up, for me, things have changed, where while I was growing up, I heard a lot of females and males talking about how they wanted oral stimulation. Everybody wanted head. Everybody wanted oral. Growing up, I'll never forget, one day I was on my motorcycle. This young lady was just getting off a boat ride. She was a little intoxicated. She was looking at me. I was looking at her, me being the beast that I am. And she says to me, I'm a freak. Are you going to lick my ass? And I'm like, I don't know you. Like, what are you talking about? Like, Very, very intimate. But as I've grown, I see and now I know how much people like that, how much people are entertained by that, how much that are a lot of people's pleasure spot. Growing up, I was like, man, if you don't get out of my face with that. But as we grow, we're all on a journey to being the best us that we can be. And sometimes it takes exploration. Some exploration you're willing to do, some not. I can't say I'll be letting anyone plug me, but there are things that people are willing to do and some that they're willing not to do.
Absolutely. And you don't have, it's not a contest. You don't have to be willing to try everything or do everything. Like, I mean, since I got you on here, there are also a lot of myths, or shall we say barriers. Like, one of the ones is that black men don't like giving oral. True or false?
False. Let me say triple false. It's funny, we've never met, but you do know I'm a black man.
I'm taking a guess based on your accent.
That Caribbean accent, Costa Rica. But yes, thinking about myths, there's that myth that all Caucasian females love to give oral. Not always true.
Oh, man, no.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, people create barriers sometimes that actually prevent them from entertaining someone that's really for them. Like, if you think that all of any brand of people like something and they don't provide, you may be preventing yourself from knowing the other beautiful parts of that person.
Right, absolutely. I mean, that is so true, Jay. And I think that's at the root, really, of a lot of the problems we're having in this world right now and in this country, is that we tend to look at people and then we try to put them in a box instead of getting to know individuals.
We don't communicate. And that's why I love talking to people. The communication factor of it is that you don't put anyone in a box. Don't say any one person is any one kind of way. Have the conversation. People are beautiful once you talk with them. You may not understand, you may not agree, but yet when you have that conversation, you can be upfront and honest and say, I don't agree, I don't like, and then you have further understanding.
Right. I'm going to take a quick minute to make a plug for something, because there's a space I create that is exactly about this. It's called Being Social, and right now they're online, and I do them every other Friday night over Zoom, and they're a space where people take turns getting on what we call the hot seat, and everyone else in the room can ask them any question they want, and they can either tell the truth, lie, or refuse to answer. And in the beginning, I give a whole spiel about tolerance and no judgment and being willing to hear and see and honor people's right to think and feel as they do. And then we go into this game where people take turns being on the hot seat, and it never fails that people will totally surprise you who they are underneath surface. At the end, I take this group of strangers, and they're all wanting to exchange phone numbers, and they're all in love with each other, and it tends to be a very sex positive environment, so people will talk freely about their sexuality, but also their spirituality, their mental health. And it does, the reason a lot of people in this world don't like gay people is because they don't think they know any, and they have no idea that they are just the same as everyone else, and
that too is a lie.
Right. Yeah. If we can get to know each other as individuals, and the same thing with, women have a lot of points of view about what men are like, and men have a lot of points of view what women are like, and that's not true either. So that's space. So if you go to my website, Pleasure Evolution, and then you click on the calendar, you can see all of the different dates of things that I got going on, and people might want to come to Being Social. But we do ask that you have a webcam, because for those, it's important that you're willing to be
recorded.
Seen. But you also can say or not say whatever you want. You definitely don't give your last name. You don't have to do that. People are coming from all over the country, so that since pandemic, that's actually one of the gifts, is that I used to do these just in person, wherever city I was living in, and now I can do them all over.
So where do you usually do, other than being virtual, do you ever do them in New York, Florida, London, England? Where do you usually do them?
That's a great question. Right now I'm based in Florida right now, and I haven't done any in-person live lately, but I will start again soon. But I travel a lot because my family's up in New York, so I'll go to New York, I go to Philadelphia, I go to Asheville, North Carolina, where I used to live. Yeah, I really love to travel. If people want me to come teach a weekend-long workshop, I will fly anywhere where we've got enough students. And I teach a whole range of things.
This sounds like it should be 100% worldwide, that you should be doing this all over the world, just so that people can interact with others alike and engage and ask open questions and get to know whether someone chooses to answer or not is on that person, and they're free to answer or not answer. But it is the beauty in someone answering so honestly. Wow. I like that.
It's really touching. Well, And I'll tell you the truth, I do have a training program for people that want to lead the format. So my hope is that it will go worldwide. I do have some other leaders in other cities. So, and I'm also open to doing them for other people's groups, like other meetups, virtually until they get a leader trained themselves. Yeah. And then when I go someplace too, like I might teach a weekend long kink workshop. And then we haven't even touched on what I do with my energy healing work, but I teach energy healing. I use my energy healing to help people who might be experiencing sexual dysfunction, erectile dysfunction, or inability to orgasm, premature ejaculation. Like all of those things can be helped along by non-surgical, non-chemical techniques.
We got time. Let's talk about it.
Uh-huh.
We got time.
All right.
But you hit on different notes. What about people that take a long time ejaculate or take a long time to reach that pleasure point? What about those?
Yeah, well, absolutely. There might be things that are in the way. There might be things that could help you along physically. Sometimes it's about surrender. We can start with clients. I start by looking at what are you afraid of will happen? Where is that coming from? In some cases, especially if you're not using protection, there is in the man a fear of getting the woman pregnant or getting trapped by a woman wanting to get pregnant. Sometimes there's shame involved. It's not okay for me to go there. I'll be too vulnerable. In French, they call orgasm le petit mort, little death. So it can be very vulnerable. Now, it can be physical, and sometimes, particularly with men, if they're ejaculating too frequently or they've trained themselves to come with porn and now they're in a real situation and it's not living up to the fantasy they have in their head, so they have a hard time. Sometimes women overuse vibrate, and that has desensitized them.
So that is a real thing.
There's different practices.
That is a real thing of desensitizing yourself because you entertain too much porn, or desensitizing yourself because you use too much toys. You can actually desensitize yourself by overstimulating yourself with too many other things that are not the same intimacy in which you actually really want. So you desensitize yourself searching for something, but in the opposite side, you desensitize yourself because you've done too much.
Right. And the other thing that happens is that inside dialogue, it's like, oh my God, I'm not coming. Oh my God, I really want to come. Why aren't I coming? I gotta come. Like that whole thing is not pleasurable. It just takes you further from the goal. So I'm a big advocate. And when I work with clients, it's like, how can you enjoy the pleasure every step of the way along and detach from orgasm as a goal?
Get away from the finish line and enjoy the race.
Enjoy the journey, not even the race. Not a race.
Exactly. Enjoy the journey.
The journey.
See that? I like that.
Yeah, and there are techniques you can use. Because I know that some people think, well, if I don't come now, I'm irritable and dissatisfied. So there are some physical things that I teach people. Not going to go into them on this call, but to come off of that like frustration point. And then there are some things that you can do leading up to it to get yourself like more ready so that you're a little closer to the brink, let's say. And one of those, I'll just give a little pointer here, is like making love at the time of day that works best for you. A lot of couples especially wait until the kids are in bed at the very end of the night to start making love.
When you're exhausted.
They're exhausted. It's not as much fun. So what can you do about that? Can you meet each other for lunch one day? Can you send the kids to grandma on a Saturday afternoon? Whatever. Give it a little priority at a time that's good for you. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, we've talked about so much. I don't even know where to go from here.
Oh, Jay, a few years ago, I basically said to the universe, I want my life to be about having sex and pleasure and talking about sex and pleasure. That's all I want to do. So can you make that happen, please?
I'm going to make that happen.
And make money fall in my lap for that? Make it happen, and I've just been really blessed. That was my focus. I said I started as an energy healer and in my own life. And then in 2012, a friend of mine said, I would totally pay you for relationship advice. And that's when I switched my focus. And I wake up every morning so excited to be me and feeling so lucky that I get to do what I love all day, every day.
As you should. You're a beautiful person inside and out. And the thing about it, often in the workplace, you hear people say, oh, this person just needs to have sex, or this person just needs some. How would you engage someone that just needs some?
Well, the truth is, I can think they'd be a lot better off if they just got some action, but it's really arrogant on my part. It's just arrogant. Anytime you're trying to tell somebody a little sex would really help you, you're just being a spiritual bitch. Yeah. Like an arrogant bitch. Like, they have to find it for themselves. Now, on the other hand, if it's your partner and they're being cranky and they would be better to just get them into bed, now it's time to up your seduction game. What's it going to take? Hey, baby, I would love to spend a little time with you. No, I got a million things to do. I get that. Can I help you? What do you need to do? I need the kids got to get to the bath, and I got to check my email. I got to call my mother mother, look at all those dishes in the sink. And the answer is, okay, baby, I got the kids in the dishes. You go call mom and do the email, and I will meet you in 1 hour. At that point, it is nothing but pleasure, you and me.
I could see that, because even that in itself, that literally sounded like foreplay. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. So sometimes people just want to hear, I got you. I got you. This is your bills need to be paid. I got you. Your dishes need to be washed. I got you. You need a foot massage. I got you. Sometimes people just want to be taken care of, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you got to help them. If you want them to surrender to pleasure and you can help them clear the deck, like whatever's in the way, it really can help the situation.
Young lady, I really have to say,
you are a wise man, Jay.
I really appreciate you, and you are correct, I am. I appreciate you talking sweet with Sweet Baby J. It's been an absolute pleasure receiving the knowledge that you have to share. It is beyond richness. And I appreciate it. But before we go, please.
Jay, they're calling the cops.
They are calling the cops. 911. Before we go, I really need you to share your website, share your business, share your contacts so that people can reach out to you and seek the knowledge that you have to share, because I really believe it's bountiful. You have the real booty.
Thank you.
The treasure, the booty.
If you see my pictures, I got the other kind of booty happening too.
Go ahead, girl. I like big butts and I cannot lie.
Yeah, I'll take that. All right. Well, for asking that, darling. So it is pleasureevolution.com, and I'm Rebecca with a K. So it's K-A-H Beneteau. When you get to my website, calendar is where you find the activities, virtual and in real time. I think services is where you can find out more about coaching, because I do work with people, individuals and couples over webcam and in real time, in person. And then I got a free ebook you can download. I give a free half-hour consultation so we can figure out what would make your life hotter and better and more fun, and how you can get there. And I have a YouTube channel with all kinds of videos and resources on there as well, called Pleasure Evolution TV. And I think I'm Pleasure Evolution on Instagram as well. I'm like all the places. I haven't gotten too into TikTok yet. I can't figure that shit out. But everywhere else, Facebook, Pleasure Evolution's got a Facebook group. So wherever you go, there I am.
That's the beauty of it. You are everywhere, spreading the knowledge of being the best you that you can be. I am going to have to say, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your vision and providing these kind of conversations for the people that tune on. It's a gift.
Hey, things happen the way they're supposed to be. This all started, ladies and gents, for those of you that don't know, because I got an email. No clue who this young lady was, but I got an email, and look at that, and they're calling the police because I got that email. And here we are talking. So from that, I will say things happen the way they're supposed to, not always the way that you want them to.
Well, that's for sure. Keep your eyes open to the possibilities and opportunities, because they're everywhere.
There you go. Young lady, thank you for being beautiful. Once again, you are here talking sweet with Sweet Baby J, and we are out.
That's about it.